Today, I had the opportunity to sit with Luuu, one of the founders of Evrloot. It is a blockchain-based fantasy RPG game that blends immersive storytelling with deep NFT integration. The NFTs are called souls. It comes complete with lore-driven missions, crafting, and trading, and it is all built on the Moonbeam blockchain. Evrloot offers a seamless, user-friendly experience with cross-chain interoperability and an ever-evolving feature set. The game officially launches on December 5th, and while our interview was cut off abruptly, we did get to cover some ground. I hope you guys enjoy the episode.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, yeah, good. Sorry, I was working on the computer trying to get a script ready for later this afternoon. How was your day, sir?
My day is pretty good. We're launching in 2 days, so I would lie if I would say I'm not stressed, but it's an optimistic kind of stressed. So
And
looking
and
forward
so
to it.
and so, how long have you guys been working on this?
For about so the whole game we've been working for about 2.5 years, but
Hmm.
over the last 3 to 4 months after ETHCC, we shifted heavily into realizing that we need a free to play part of our game where we can just onboard all the people that are out there and can't token gate our game anymore. So the last 3, 4 months, we have been really focusing on getting this loop done and ready and make it exciting and make it really easy to understand for even non-crypto natives.
Hmm.
So that's, yeah, like the last couple of months have been hyper focused on that.
And now you brought up an ETH conference. Is that when you guys did you shift and were you on Ethereum and you decided to explore Moonbeam? What exactly happened there?
No, so we actually started off on Kusama. I'm not sure if you've heard
Okay.
of it. It's a test net of Polkadot, so very,
Yes,
very
yes.
deep in in the crypto sphere.
So
Um,
you've always been on the Polkadot protocol.
yeah, we
Okay.
started off there because that was the place where like this NFT 2.0 standard was created, which we are
Hmm.
using.
Hmm.
So we were really big fans of that tech, and that's kind of what made us start building this game at all because we saw this tech and we were like, oh, this lends itself perfectly for like a character having their own items and a character growing through going on missions, etc., etc.
Hmm.
So because the standard was only there, we started there, and then we naturally grew, and then eventually we moved to the biggest EVM on Polkadot, so that's Moonbeam.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and that's basically where we're at now.
And like, let's get into like the kind of the background story. Like, what was the inspiration? Are you guys techies? Do you just love this space? Are you
Mhm.
explorers? Yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, I think a little bit of everything, to be honest. So my co-founders and I, we were, I guess, naturally interested in the whole crypto space. My co-founder did have like Bitcoin 2014 or something, sold it for a loss back then. I'm not sure how that was even possible. um, and didn't really get into it that much until like 2020, 2019,
Hmm.
where we kind of rediscovered all of that. I've been active, I would say, probably like starting with COVID a little bit, where we were just sitting at home and I was kind of growing curious about what this whole thing is. Um, I have a tech background, so we all actually have a tech background. Study computer science. My co-founders did as well. My co-founder went into like the consulting, product management side of things.
Hmm.
Didn't really like that a lot because he was basically in meetings all day and didn't really have like a product to work with. He was just
Yeah.
managing people. And I was just coming out of university really fresh. And then we were kind of bundled together by a mutual friend who was like, hey, you both kind of like crypto. You have this one guy that is really good at tech. You have the other guy that is kind of good at creating products, but doesn't really know how. And then it was like a pretty natural fit, and that's kind of where it grew from. And then we were super excited about this tech that I just mentioned, and we just started doing it. Basically, we didn't even have a big plan. We were just so curious about it and decided to give it a go, and that's kind of how it went from there.
I love it. And then talk to me. And we're gonna jump around. Like my mind goes crazy
Yeah,
sometimes. So
no, I
like,
love it. I love it.
and so you said you have 2 days before launch.
Yeah.
And this means you're going absolutely live. Have you done any, is there any chum in the water, so to speak? Like, are you baiting the hook before you throw it in? What has led up to this?
What do you mean with that exactly? Like what there
Well,
is in the campaign that's really exciting, or
well, no, it's more to the tune. So you guys are rolling out a new product. Is the idea
yeah.
that on launch day you are going to pull the curtain down and let everybody see, or have you done
Hmm. Okay.
any nibbles to let people know we're working on things, things are coming. This is what you should be excited about. This is the tech that we're bringing. This is the
Yeah.
yeah.
So we've been live for some time. Like I said, we were token gated up
Mhm.
until now, basically. So we've had a pretty extensive
This
beta,
is
I
it.
would say.
Okay. Okay.
So we've had about 200 daily active players for about a year now
Okay.
that have really kind of battle tested our whole system, if you want to
Brilliant.
call it like that. And we've developed like what we're really proud of is we we didn't do what you just said. We didn't just go into the shadows and develop something for 2 years and then be like, hey guys, look at this. Do you like this?
Correct. Correct.
We've purposely started pretty small and iterated on that product and got a lot
Love
of
it.
feedback from the community, got a lot of positive, sometimes even negative, a lot of input from them, and kind of developed the product with them until ultimately this point now where even the latest release that's coming out now, we've really intensively tested with the community, and they gave like some major feedback, which made us like change some core mechanics even like a week before launch. So for us, it's really important to not be in our own bubble, but to have like people give us this constructive criticism. Yeah,
Well, I mean, and it seems brilliant if you think about it. It's like you are creating and developing the product market fit through iteration as you go. And so it's
yeah,
absolutely a brilliant way to go. What is okay, so you've gone from token gated. Now the idea is in a few days you're going to go live,
yeah.
meaning that gameplay is now free for anybody to check it out. And if they decide they really want to scratch the surface, that's when they get into NFT 2.0 and they get into buying into the gaming ecosystem.
Yeah, that's the beauty about what we have. It's I guess other products kind of have this problem of they launch and then I mean maybe they have some content, but it's ultimately pretty limited. Like we've been building for 2 years. We have a really deep tech stack at this point. Like we have our own marketplace. We have really sophisticated on-chain game mechanics that players are already playing.
Mhm.
But with this release now, there's basically coming a freemium model where you can experience this whole thing without needing a wallet. Like we're using Privy, for example, where you can just use
Okay.
your Google login. You can run it from any browser. You don't need to install anything. You basically just get started. You kind of get a sneak peek, which is still fun in and of itself. So you get to understand and experience all the game mechanics we have. But
Mhm.
like you just said, when you are excited enough, you kind of have to get into the actual NFT space, and then you will get the full access to the marketplace. You will get the full access to the whole item economy we have, because all of that is obviously on chain. So you need to become kind of this
Mhm.
on chain citizen. Yeah, so it's kind of the whole goal around it, where the gate falls down, but it's a freemium model where ultimately if you want to level up to the crypto experience, you need one of the characters.
I love it. Okay, and because I like I want the content not only for people that are in the space, but also for people that will be entering the space. And so
Yeah.
let's just and give me answers from the perspective of somebody who's never been in this space. And
Yeah,
so
it's a good question because we what we did quite extensively, especially for this launch, because it is aimed at people that don't know anything about gaming, that don't know
okay,
anything about crypto.
okay,
We, for example, tested with our girlfriends who have never heard about crypto. Who, I mean, I think the girlfriend of my co-founder plays like stuff like Harry Potter on the
yeah,
PS5, for example,
yeah,
but has never heard about an RPG or anything. And we purposely set them in front of our laptops. We were like, hey, start playing this. Gave them no instructions and just sat next to them and took notes, kind of every
I love
weird
it.
look they took. And every time they looked at us and were like, what am I supposed to do now? We wrote it down and kind of tried to understand, okay, where are these hurdles that a lot of non-crypto natives are facing?
Mhm.
And we tried to integrate it into this launch.
Okay, and now let me double down or double click on this. So if we look at the ecosystem from 100 yards back, leading the marketplace is Bitcoin, and then we have Ethereum. Now it might be XRP, Solana, whatever the current race is. But when I think of normies and I think about, I spend a fair amount of time onboarding people as well, but for
Mhm.
not in the gaming ecosystem, but just bringing people into the crypto fold.
Yeah,
And talk to me a bit about the Polkadot ecosystem and how how easy is that to so this is how I guess I want to pose the question. So you guys are running on the Moonbeam system,
Mhm.
and if you are brand new to crypto and you decide this game is for me, I am going to start allocating funds to this and get
Mhm.
into this crypto scene. They're going to be entering through the door of Polkadot.
Yeah,
And if you have a sec, just let me know how easy is that if you want
yeah,
to onboard your mother?
yeah, yeah.
How, like just walk through a couple steps just to
I,
bring
I I
people
think
up to
I think I
speed.
know what you're trying to hint at, and I think you're doing a very good job at it. Polkadot doesn't have a good rap at being very normie friendly, and that's completely correct. Like we are really aware of that. So I think they're really trying hard now to make it more user friendly. Like they're releasing an app where you're gonna be able to pay with stuff like use your Apple Pay, whatever. A bunch of stuff is happening now, but I believe we are still at the forefront of really trying to cater towards the end user because Polkadot as a whole has really been focusing on the tech, which is great. Like the underneath of it all is very, very solid, and they're always trying to innovate it, but they haven't really nailed down how to approach the end user. It is really techie heavy right now. So a lot of Web3 natives and a lot of people that really enjoy the decentralization of blockchains, et cetera, et cetera. So what we did is because we were aware that, hey, we can't expect anybody to buy DOT on Coinbase or Binance and send it to their wallet and then eventually maybe start playing our game. And we have built our own credit card Stripe products where
Okay.
you are able to basically with one click Stripe payments are able to get whatever currency you need. In our game, it's only
Yeah.
one, but you're able to basically go in there um, and through Stripe, through your credit card, get started. And then you don't even like it was very important for us to not just send you off to MoonPay, send you off to I don't know whatever third party kind of service there is because we have the experience ourselves where it's so annoying, like going through all these KYC steps and everything. We are MiCA compliant in Europe, so we're like under the Europe regulation and we're trying our best to be so. So we're safe. But this also allows us, by trying to be very careful, to offer products like this. And that's ultimately how we're trying to get the people to have a very, very convenient journey. So even for this launch now, there's going to be a collection that drops with it, kind of this bigger entry ticket, kind of the premium of the freemium model.
Mhm.
You can buy it with a credit card, and it's going to take you maybe 15 seconds tops until you have that NFT in your wallet.
And so, just because I love this process as well. So somebody could get onboarded through your game, use Stripe to fund their gaming activities without leaving your ecosystem.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's brilliant. And so if and this might be off topic a bit, but I think it's interesting because we're talking about Stripe, and to me, Stripe represents a key for normies to get through this door for the first
Yeah.
time. And I think it's really interesting. Now, when I think about getting through the door, okay, great, we've got this ability to purchase assets and save them. Where if you have a Stripe wallet and you're in your ecosystem, is this stored in a digital, and I'm doing this for the normies, is this stored in a
Mm.
digital wallet that is on your ecosystem? And if things were to go well and you wanted to explore the crypto system even further and decide, I actually want to trade some of these assets, what is the step moving from in-game platform to a crypto aficionado that's moving around the
Yeah.
web in Web3?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So at the moment, and we've looked into this deeply, at the moment you are kind of limited to kind of our game and our ecosystem. And the reason being is if we, for example, would allow you to straight up purchase whatever currency you need, whatever coin you need,
Mhm.
we need the same license as a Coinbase, as a Binance. And that
Okay.
license here in Europe
Okay.
costs like upwards of 400,000 euros.
Okay.
And we sadly aren't at that stage yet. Our goal is to get to a stage where we can afford that license and actually be this onboarding bridge that just gets you started into crypto and then you go wherever you want. But at the moment, we sadly, it would be a huge legal liability for us to allow that. So at the moment, you are kind of limited to our ecosystem.
Okay. Okay. Now, I guess two things. One, do you want to double click on just kind of the RPG aspects of your game? So I'm interested in that, and I want to let people know what the game is bringing. And I also, in that same vein, I'm interested on your thoughts in how you think the blockchain ecosystem is going to change gaming moving forward.
Mm. Yeah, those are two very good questions.
Let's go with
Maybe I'll just
RPG.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
okay,
ahead, go
I'll answer
ahead.
the first one first. So our game is purposely a very casual game. It's not a Call of Duty. It's not a Diablo even where you really need to sweat to get good. We wanted to create something casual that appeals to people that did like, for example, the old Diablos. They will feel this vibe. They will feel this nostalgia.
Mhm,
But we also wanted to create something that, for example, my girlfriend who enjoys playing Sims likes
mhm,
to dabble into. So there's like asynchronous loop where you send your characters on missions, and once they are done, they get their stuff back. But there's also live action gameplay, basically, where you jump into a dungeon and you go from room to room, you find enemies, you try to get loot. We try to kind of offer something for everybody, but at the same time, we're not trying to be the next AAA game title. I think a lot of projects they try to set the bar very high for themselves and then ultimately crumble underneath it because they're trying to be the next, I don't know, the next, like I said,
sure.
Diablo, or I mean, we've seen a couple of big shooters, right, that tried really hard, got a lot of funding and ultimately failed. Like we're purposely building to kind of our limitations. We're definitely pushing the limits,
Mhm,
but we're not trying to promise you to be this next big AAA title.
mhm.
So that's I guess the one side of the question. Um, what was the second question again?
Just talking about how you think blockchain is
Oh yeah,
going
yeah,
to affect the gaming industry over the whole.
yeah. I think it's a very interesting question as well because you mostly see two different types of games at the moment. You see kind of, I guess maybe you've heard about mythical games. They're pretty big in Polkadot. They have
Mhm,
NFL Rivals. It's like the biggest NFL game, and they just announced like a FIFA game as well on mobile. What
mhm,
they kind of do is they build these cool mobile apps that are very mobile friendly, and they go into the App Store, and they're very popular there. And they use the blockchain tech basically on the back end, right?
mhm.
They kind of hide it. If you dig really deep, you will see it. But it's mostly like their back end technology. They're creating a lot of transactions. They're creating a lot of wallets, but you as a player, you never really understand that you're even on the blockchain. And then
Which
there's
is
kind of this,
which is how
which is
it's
good.
yeah, like from if you are a non-technical person, that is
Yeah,
exactly what you want. That is the user
exactly.
experience that is desired.
Exactly. And then on the other side, you kind of have these fully on-chain, autonomous world type of games, right? That are really proud of being completely on-chain, completely decentralized. And they kind of require you to be a Web3 native to the biggest degree and kind of understand what it means. You need to sign transactions, et cetera, which is also really cool. And we like that type of game. But it's very niche because you need to be a Web3 native, right? So what we are trying to build, and I think that's where the future will move towards more and more, is kind of offer a hybrid where you
Mm,
are normally ready, especially like when it comes to onboarding and especially when it comes like to the first maybe couple of weeks of gameplay. Everybody can get started. It's not complicated to understand. You don't need a wallet. You don't need any currency. You can enjoy the game without having to worry about everything. But then you eventually need this depth. And we're also very proud of the stuff we've built. So a lot of stuff we've built, like we have like a peer-to-peer trading marketplace that is fully decentralized. Like a lot of the stuff wouldn't be able without the blockchain. And we're very proud of that. But we are aware that you can't just throw that into a normie's face and he will appreciate it. No, they need to kind of like the game. They need to understand the item economy. And then eventually they will appreciate kind of the tech underneath it. So I
bingo.
think the hybrid where we're moving towards is very easy onboarding, no barriers there, and then have this depth when if somebody is willing to go deeper and he enjoys the game, he is able to understand, hey, this is a fully on-chain marketplace. Hey, this is a game mechanic that doesn't just take any random value, it takes a random value somewhere on chain, and I can actually look at it if I would want to. Kind of have both sides of the coin, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's where a lot of games are naturally gonna move towards. You're still gonna have these big AAA crypto titles that use it on just on the back end side of things, which, like you said, is completely fine. And you're gonna have the other ones as well. But I think there's a big space opening up for these hybrid games that kind of bring the best of both worlds.
I agree. You know, and it's funny, you said a couple things. So one, you mentioned your team's constant iteration, which I'm a fan of. You also mentioned that your girlfriend likes Sims. And it brings up the question, how do you look at Everloot as a bridge for traditional gamers to get into this crypto ecosystem, which is changing the world, in my opinion?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was a big Counter-Strike player.
Okay.
Not as much anymore, but I had like an inventory worth a couple of thousand of dollars. And I was kind of, I think back to that a lot. Like in my high school times, I was trading a lot. So back in the day, there were like forums where you could post, hey, I have this item and I want this item. And you were like making $1 profit every trade if you were a good trader. And I did that for like 3 years, I think, probably 5 hours a day, just refreshing, seeing if there's new offers, trying to find the newest stuff. And then on one day, like all these gambling sites got very popular. And all of a sudden, Counter-Strike had a huge problem that these gambling sites were using these skins that had real life value
Yes.
as deposits for kids to gamble. So what
Yeah.
they did is, which I can't blame them for, but they put a trade ban on every item once it was transferred. So if I transferred an
Oh,
item to
interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah. So if I transfer an item to you, it
So,
would have
so,
a ban for 7 days where you could not transfer it anywhere else.
interesting.
Yeah. And that was kind of, and back in the day, I understand it now. It was gambling. They
Yeah.
had to stop it somehow.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, how can you do that? I'm spending 5 hours a day trading
Yeah.
on this marketplace. I'm making like $10 profit a day. That's all there is to me. It's more than I get from my parents per month. And you just decide to put a trade ban on that for 7 days on all my items. It effectively I got really mad and it effectively killed trading to a big degree. Like the big traders,
Right.
they were fine, they had enough items. But for me, it meant that I have to wait a week every time,
Yeah.
which tremendously slowed down my
It's
operation. So,
prohibitive.
and I think Vitalik talked about it as well, that as like a big inspiration for Ethereum as a whole, kind of you have this possibility to create, for example, something like our marketplace that is fully decentralized. We can't take away an item from you. We can't just decide to have it be trade banned for 7 days. No, you are the owner of it. It's your under your full ownership, and you can decide what you want to do with it. So I think because your question was like, how do you plan to onboard people, right? Like I think even talking to my old CS:GO or like CS:GO friends, Counter Strike friends, they understand the value of that, but all the games that are out there at the moment, they don't really appeal to them. They still believe for a big part that crypto is a scam as a whole. And I kind of see gaming as this big vehicle to bring these people in, kind of give them an enjoyable experience where they maybe don't even think about crypto at all. And then slowly they realize, oh, there's also benefits to crypto. It's not just the shit coins, it's not just the scams that everybody hears about. There's actually utility for this thing. So that's kind of, I think, what in an ideal world we would kind of be able to do. Now, there's still a long way to go, and it's definitely not easy, but that's kind of our goal, I would say.
I love it. And I just want to touch on some of the things that were difficult with integrating the blockchain. And you mentioned that you're in Europe and you have some MiCA regulations that, depending on where you are, everybody's got different regulations
Yeah.
that they have to deal with. Um, have you found ways to overcome these barriers that other people find prohibitive to get into the space? Like it takes a little tenacity and a little thought engineering, but I have found that most of the friction in this space, it's just bad user experience, right? Like the UX UI hasn't caught up with the tech because
Yeah.
most of the people in the space are tech savvy and they're able to deal with the friction. But 6 months, a year from now,
Mm.
new gamers that are coming into this space, they don't like friction free is what should be delivered. And
Yeah.
I know that we're not there yet. And so as we're getting to that thing, like your involvement with Stripe and having that be the payment rail for the game is brilliant because you can do everything in-house. Have you had any huge hurdles to overcome integrating with the blockchain? That's one question. And then I do want you to think of your answer in the form of how did you select Polkadot?
Yeah, sure. There were a lot of hurdles, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think it's I think a lot of projects would have probably stopped, or what they would have done is just not care about the regulations. They would just have been like, "Hey, we're gonna try. If everything comes crumbling down, so be it." What we kind of the approach we took is from very early on, we thought to ourselves, "Hey, we want this to be something long term. In order for this to be something long term, it needs to be set up properly, and we need to take all the precautions and all the steps to make this as solid as possible." So I mean, I can like the first example we had is in our we have an official company like a LLC equivalent here in Germany.
mhm.
And when you, for example, want to open a bank account, you have like this description of what you do. And we had like NFTs and digital goods and a blockchain in it. And we
Mhm.
got like declined by, I think, six different banks. Like all of the traditional banks didn't even really get back
Just
to us. We had
straight out
like,
the gate, done.
yeah,
Yeah,
because it had like blockchain in it.
sure.
And I guess looking back at it, we maybe we should not have put blockchain in it, but we didn't know at the time. We were just like putting that into
You're
our
being
company. We were
honest.
like, oh, we're in the Wild West. We want to be honest about it. We are excited
Yes,
about using the blockchain, right? And
yes,
immediately we were like, okay, blockchain means you can't get a bank account,
yeah,
basically. So we had to go like through seven different ones, and then eventually like a fintech did accept us through. It was like a process. It took forever. Like it really took forever
sure.
to set up like a business account. That was like one of the first hurdles we ever faced, which was like immediately we understood, okay, this is the Wild West. Do we really want to do this? But for us, it was quite clear, hey, the fact that there is this Wild West gives us this ability to kind of form it however we want and be like one of the first ones, right, in this space. Like
Pioneers.
when everything is smooth in 2 years, it's also going to be very, very difficult to stand out, right? Like there's going to be so much competition, there's going to be so many good projects. We're not going to stop. A lot of other projects are not going to stop, and they're going to be there before you. So for us, it was kind of clear, okay, there is this friction, but it also means, hey, we're probably one of the first ones that are trying to do this properly.
I love it. I love it.
So this was kind of the I could talk about many more hurdles we faced like that. But I guess coming then to Polkadot, like what gives us, I guess, some confidence is that they are taking the same approach as us. Like they are trying to be rock solid. Like they're trying to create the best possible infrastructure. Like
Mhm.
now you could argue maybe that they should focus more on user acquisition, they should focus more on their image or whatever. But for us, it doesn't really matter that much because ultimately we're trying to cater towards the end user. And we need this solid ground underneath. Um, and we kind of believe that by their approach, they're trying to be as regulatory compliant as well, and they're trying to be as decentralized as possible, meaning that we don't, for example, face the issue of them being considered as a security. We are aware that this kind of gives us the best possible ground to kind of build on top. So, yeah, I guess there hasn't been that much more thought put into Polkadot, to be honest. But we do like the people here. We do like the community. They're very engaged. They're very convinced about kind of where this whole thing is going. And they're providing a lot of great feedback to us and help. And yeah, so we are very happy with the community we have here.
Yeah, it's funny. It was probably, I don't know, maybe 4.5 years ago, right around there. There's a trading platform that I use called Orox, and
Okay.
they they were doing crypto podcasts back then, and they had the founders of Polkadot on.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, that was literally the first crypto podcast I happened to come across. Like I was just
Okay.
involved with this Orox trading platform, and they said, "Hey, we're going to do this," and I started watching this podcast, and I was so enamored with the guys at Polkadot. It was one of the
Hmm.
first, yeah, other than, the big majors, it was one of the first steps out of the norm that I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like I like what these guys are doing. So
Hmm.
I've been a Polkadot fan for a good minute, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. I think they are moving in a direction now, which makes me very hopeful. I'm not just talking about like price action and stuff, but I'm talking about the community kind of realizing what we should focus on as a whole. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about Polkadot, that it is very decentralized. Like you do have these whales that influence a lot of the voting power in the governance. That's,
Correct.
I think, still a problem that we kind of need to figure out. But the community as a whole has kind of realized that you can't just have the greatest tech. You need to also focus on other stuff.
Mhm.
So projects like we are getting kind of help all of a sudden, like financial help, for example, for our marketing budget. So stuff like that, where they realize that even all of the maybe smaller fish in comparison to some of the bigger parrot chains or whatever, they're important for a ecosystem and trying to support you.
I love it. They are involved, and I think that's absolutely what you want from these chains. Watching, and there's a couple other chains that are getting ready to launch and pop off, and I've been following a bunch of them. But Polkadot is definitely one of the early. Yeah, that it's been awesome to watch their trajectory. Where do you think the blockchain gaming industry goes? Like in the next 5 to 10 years? Does it, and in my view, it becomes invisible, except for the
Mm.
tech people, right? From the user perspective, it becomes a layer that functions like everything else. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. There's like a quote of a friend of mine who said, he believes that crypto needs gaming, not gaming needs crypto, which I think is very true. Like, we really need crypto in gaming right now? Probably not. There's probably ways to build the tech out, and I mean, of course, there's going to be centralized servers and whatever. But gaming itself is fine, right? It's doing good. It's still growing every year. But I think gaming as a use case for blockchain is just such a great example, and it's such
Absolutely.
a great way and great vehicle to onboard people. Like DeFi, for example, you need to understand there's like monetary risk behind it, right? I love DeFi and I use DeFi myself, but it's this very complex thing you need to understand before you can even use it. Whereas like gaming, you can, like you said, you can make it very seamless. You can kind of hide it underneath nice assets, underneath a nice game, and players don't get scared away immediately. So I do agree with what you said in terms of I'm not sure where we're actually going. I'm not sure if EA is going to run all their servers on the blockchain or if Sony is going to run all their servers on the blockchain. I'm not quite convinced yet,
Mhm.
um, simply because I know how big those machines are and how hard it is for them to change, right? Like it would need to be very, very attractive for them, or it would need to be like a big outcry from the users to force them to move to something new. Um, but I think a lot of stuff that is coming up now, a lot of new stuff, will realize that it's probably cheaper than running your own servers on some DigitalOcean or on some AWS server farm. It's probably going to be user friendlier because the bridges become better and the onboarding experiences become better. So I think there's going to be a point, and that's probably going to be reached within the next 5 to 10 years, where
I love it.
you don't have all of these negatives anymore, and it starts to make more sense for you to build on the blockchain. And I think that's where it gets really interesting and very exciting when there's no drawback anymore. You don't need to figure out what we need to do. For example, oh, there's a 20-second block time, or like a 20-second finality time until this whole transaction is confirmed. What do we do in the game so the player doesn't feel this 20 seconds? Like we're going to be at a point where it's going to be just like a database, and it's going to be quick and it's going to be easy, and you as a developer don't have to care about it, and it's probably going to be much easier than deploying something to AWS. So that's, I think, where crypto is moving towards in the next 5 to 10 years.
Mhm.
And then once we're open to that degree, once it becomes that easy, I think there's nothing that can really stop it.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. The idea that things need gaming. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think gaming brings technology because of the demand for the gaming experience. And having nerds and a bunch of people that are hell bent on something, right? It drives the technology forward, and anything that gets in the wake of that will grow with it, which I think is absolutely amazing. I think it's such an exciting time that we're in with just the combination of all these things. And, even talking about like CSGO and that feeling that you got when you realized, wow, this asset, though it might be mine, somebody else has control of it, right?
Yeah.
That 7-day lock, that feeling, that frustration is what this is going to solve because it brings ownership
Yeah.
within. And I think that's the huge game changer.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
think now just like I do agree that the problems are being solved. Now it's just about the products need to be good enough that the problem we're solving is actually worth solving, right? Like if the
yes,
games are bad, then why would I even want a decentralized marketplace? I don't like the game. I won't play it. But I
yeah,
think if the products become good enough, then all of a sudden this appeal of the problems that you just mentioned that are being solved becomes so much greater, and then becomes a no-brainer, right, to use it because would I rather play this game that runs on a centralized server, or would I rather play this game that is just as good but runs on a decentralized structure where I'm the actual owner? And then, like, why would you choose the first one, right?
yeah, yeah. People don't. I think part of the problem is that people don't really understand what they're missing. And
Mm.
as soon as the keys to the vehicle are given to you and you realize, wow, I can go take this vehicle and go
Yeah,
anywhere I like, it is going to be that aha moment that so many of us had at different points in our blockchain journey. So I love this.
yeah.
As far as you guys and your team and you're getting ready to launch, what has been super rewarding for you guys? What are you proud of?
Yeah. I think this I'm super happy about this whole shift. Like we've been, like we said, we've like incrementally improving our product, which is nice in and of itself, and our players enjoyed it. But like taking this big step now, together with a big campaign with KOLs and a big campaign with big Twitter accounts, like Polkadot is gonna tweet about us, everything. It has a very different side to it, where like when you have this big launch, there's something to be very excited about. And it's like really like a new beginning almost for us, where we're at this point now where we've put in the work of creating a solid product, and now it's kind of about reaping the benefits. The work won't stop. It's still a lot of work ahead of us, but now you can kind of look back over the last 2 years and kind of realize, hey, this is pretty cool what we've built, and hopefully, fingers crossed, when people start seeing this product, they're going to think the same. And we've already got a bunch of positive feedback from testers and whatever. Um, and it's just so rewarding seeing that, like having built something with your own hands and having people appreciate it and enjoy it. That's I think there's nothing that beats that.
I love that. And like future forward, if you guys had the opportunity to collaborate with any gaming studio or blockchain project, do you have your eyes set on anything?
um, Yeah, I mean, we love like the big players. We love a Pirate Nation. We love the Beacon. I think it's great what they're doing. They're really, we believe they're like in the same space as us, where they're trying to push this hybrid of trying to create cool tech with the blockchain, but still make it as user friendly and UX easily as possible. I would love to eventually get like to work with these guys. We already had like a bunch of calls with Pirate Nation, for example, and we've learned all about the infrastructure they've built, and they're not quite ready yet to work together with other projects. But I think we are. That may sound cocky, but I think we are of the caliber of team like these guys, and I think we can kind of maybe not compete, but we can thrive together with them. We really believe in kind of working together and kind of creating this gaming vertical on the blockchain together. And ultimately, we're all going to benefit. We're not trying to kill each other. We're trying to get more people into the space that understand what it's about and kind of see the advantages. And then if we're all trying really hard and we even start to collaborate, I think it's a net positive for everybody.
I love it. I love it. Lucas, the timer on the Zoom is going to expire in 52 seconds. So I apologize
Okay,
for that.
no
Um,
worries.
yeah, listen, it's been awesome catching up with you. I would actually like to do possibly a follow-up once the
Sure,
game is launched. Just
I
because
would
I
love
like,
to.
yeah, awesome. Just because I like checking in on things and seeing how everybody's doing.
No, amazing. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for
Yeah, dude.
being
Look, I
having an
love
open
hearing
ear. We all